Attorney General Ken Paxton, 72% of his quote unquote so-called voter fraud cases, they are all people of color. So there's clearly an agenda there. The case of Crystal Mason, who is facing more time behind bars in the state of Texas because she voted while on supervised release in 2016. It's clearly voter intimidation. So
And even
I am
recently, Hervis Rogers. Hervis Rogers
Purvis
was
Rogers facing 25 years.
stood in line for 6 hours to exercise his right to vote. When you talk about voter fraud, so let's just break down what we would consider to be voter fraud. That someone is trying to do to change the outcomes of an election. How in the world was a Hervis Rogers standing in line for 6 hours trying to change the outcome of a presidential election? There is no way. Now, if Hervis Rogers was a part of a larger conspiracy of people that were doing this, okay, let's talk. But we're talking about one black man. But this conjures up visions, as you just pointed out, of what the slave master used to do when one of the slaves got out of line. They marched him to the middle of the courtyard, hanged, beat, tortured, butt breaking, whatever you want to call it. They did that for a purpose. And this is exactly what Ken Paxton is doing. Ken Paxton literally is sending Hervis Rogers and Crystal Mason out for everyone to see, to simply say, if you vote, this is what can happen to you. And the threat of 25 years in prison for simply casting a ballot. And by the way, in Texas, and I'm sure this is all across the country, any inmate that leaves the Texas prison system is given a voter registration card, regardless of whether you're being released free and clear or if you're on parole. Why would you offer a person that's on parole a voter registration card? Secondly, why didn't the system simply kick Hervis Rogers off or simply send a notice to say, no, you're ineligible to vote? This is all done systemically to go after people like Hervis Rogers, to go after people like Crystal Mason, so that the Republican Party can have their aha gotcha moments of, oh, we found a voter fraud. Hervis Rogers didn't vote in multiple voting polls in one election. He didn't vote in different cities. He didn't try to cast more than one ballot. He simply stood in line for 6 hours to exercise his right to vote, and Ken Paxton is literally taking away this man's life, put him in jail under $100,000 bond.
That is just.
There was an individual in Texas that had an aggravated assault case on the exact same day of a police officer and was given a $50,000 bond. Someone who had aggravated assault with a weapon was given a $50,000 bond, but Hervis Rogers was given a $100,000 bond for voting. These are the tactics of the Republican Party, and the audacity of someone like Ken Paxton, who by the way himself is under indictment for fraud.
Right.
And so what he does, and much like Republicans do, they point to everyone else so that you don't look at them and what they are doing. And so we know what Ken Paxton's tactics are. We know he wants to out-Trump Trump. We know Governor Abbott wants to be Trumpier than Trump. They think the crazier they are, the better they are off for their primaries. And this is all, and they're using black men and women as pawns in their game for their primaries, to simply say, look at what we're doing to these black voters. Look at what we're doing, and they think that's the right thing for them to do. And then as soon as they do that, they go right there to, hey, we're all Christians and we all love the Lord.
And there's that, and there's that evangelicalism. Listen, I want to get to y'all going to DC, but before I get to that, I have to ask you this. In New York and New Jersey, we're finicky. We will vote somebody out in a minute. We've had in Jersey, we've had mayors who are Democrat. I'm sorry, governors who are Democrat, governors who are Republican. In New York, we might have a Republican mayor of New York City, a Democratic, governor, a Democratic mayor of New York City. We're finicky people. But what confuses me about Texas, Rep. Johnson, is that I see the same people getting voted in. Senator Ted Cruz, it makes no sense to me that he was reelected. Uh, Governor Abbott, it'll break my heart to see him reelected. Uh, Ken Paxton is running for reelection again under an investigation. So my question to you in the great state of Texas, why do these folks keep reelecting the same people? I mean, Ted Cruz abandoned his state and went to Cancun and said what y'all did was theatrics, and he was in Cancun when the state was freezing. But why are reelecting the same ideology, the same people? Explain it to me.
I'm not going to say that this type of idiocy is applicable only to Texas.
Right.
This country just in 2016 probably voted for the most ignorant, unintelligible, uneducated person that we've ever could even think that would be president in Trump. And what he has done is embolden those outside of him, near him, that realize that being crazy is better than being intellectual. And whatever you say comes out of you. All you have to do is lie. And I think we've come to a polarizing point in this country where the lines have been drawn so deep that all Republicans have to do is say something against Democrats or against people of color, and they will get elected. That's how bad it has become. It's not even about policy anymore. It's not even about ideas. It's not about people's ability to create or effectuate change. And when people used to run, they used to say, "I'm going to be a coalition builder. I'm going to be someone who will reach across the aisle to work with my colleagues." That's what politicians used to say. In these days, they say, "I'm not reaching across and doing anything for any. I'm only here to support Republicans." That's what get people elected these days. It's that type of division and hate that obviously polls well in these places. And so I'm not gonna. While I hear your point and I hear what you're saying, but I can't just say this is applicable to Texas. I mean, we see Florida is just as batch crazy
Mississippi.
as I don't know if I can curse, but
Oh, you can curse. You can do whatever you want.
You got Arizona and all of these places are doing the exact same thing. Minnesota, all of the places. I can point to these people over and over and over again. Unfortunately, they are being elected. I mean, you got Marjorie Taylor Greene. Jesus.
Oh my
God, come on. I mean, we're looking at a woman that is as crazy as they come, and she is literally raising millions of dollars off of her crazy. And the things that she say, and all she has to do is backdoor with, "Oh, my bad." Matt Gaetz literally raped little girls, drugged them and raped them, and he's raising millions of dollars off of that. And the Republican Party is literally circling the wagons for them, have not denounced them at all. And so this is where we are in this country, unfortunately. We have gotten to the point where, our people, voters, literally on the other side, are not interested in where you come from, your education pedigree. They don't care about all that. They literally want to hear you say, you believe in your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and you want to suppress people from voting, and you're going to speak out against Black Lives Matter, and you're going to speak out against anybody that is un-American and to what they would consider to be un-American. You stand for the flag, all that. That's what it is. That's where we are, unfortunately. But hopefully, this is simply a pendulum swing that I hope is going to swing back sooner than later, and that we can correct the errors of the ways. But I think the only way that we can do that is that we have to become just as unapologetic and our positions and stances to protect and defend democracy as they are trying to destroy it. And literally, that's what they're doing, to the point where they're saying the insurrection was simply citizens, patriots visiting the Capitol. They didn't do anything wrong. This is what they literally have told themselves. So as long as they tell the lie long enough and as often as they can, they'll start to believe it, to the point where it's lunacy.
So, Rep. Johnson, again, like we said at the top of the show, many of y'all left Texas to stop this. And for folks who don't understand, while Republicans control the state legislature, you have to have 2/3 of the majority to actually have a legislative session. So that's why y'all left, because it suspends the session, in case folks don't get that. But part of the thing that I am hearing, Rep. Johnson, I'd love for you to address this, is while I know I loved what y'all did, and it was great to see some Democrats really fighting and being unapologetic, like you said, what's the end game? Because it appears, sadly, I think y'all met with Joe Manchin. He won't come on this show, but it appears that there was no way to stop this, especially with folks like Joe Manchin, who I say is a Dixiecrat. But what is the end game? It appears that what these Republicans want to do in Texas, it's just going to happen eventually. So tell me, for the outside looking in, what's the end game for y'all?
There's not going to be a quit. And what they need to understand is that we're not going to quit. They think because you're bigger than me, you can hit me harder, that means I'm just going to quit. Well, that's not how you stop a bully. You don't stop a bully by giving in. You don't stop a bully from beating you up by simply saying, oh, okay, well, I'll let you keep taking my lunch money. Because at some point or another, I'm from Houston, Texas, born in Fifth Ward, Texas, as they call it, and raised in Acres Home, they call the fofo. And at the end of the day, ain't no quitting me, and certainly ain't no backing down from a bully. And I've used this phrase and will continue to use this phrase, that I'm not going to fatten no frog for no snake. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to continue to just let Republicans do what they want to do and then think that at some point they're going to wait me out or tire me out. Because I stand on the shoulder of giants. I stand on the shoulder of folks that came before me, that sacrificed their lives, their livelihood, they've done it all. And the fact that I keep that at the frontal lobe of my mind, and to say, nope, I'm going to work hard and harder. I think the end game comes with having to negotiate some of the things that are important to us. At the end of the day, that's what politics is. We have to bring it back home to what politics used to be, and that was an opportunity to communicate, to negotiate, and then to legislate. That's what we should be doing. And so at this time, this is the time in which there should be calls to the governor, there should be calls to the speaker, as we sit here and we negotiate things. Texas has the highest rate of uninsured women and children in the entire nation. The fact that we have to negotiate that. The fact that we have a huge problem with police brutality. We have to negotiate that. The fact that there's so many different things that are out there that we can negotiate to work to find a middle ground. And if there's no middle ground to be found, then there's no legislation to be had. And so at the end of the day, hopefully this country sees what we're trying to do, and they will continue to support us. It's just not the story of the day, the story of the week. And then they move on and forget this struggle is not about just Texas. This struggle is about this entire nation, the integrity of this nation. We stood up not simply to say, oh, we're personally wanting news stories and those types of things. No, this is literally this type of legislation is going to be generational. It's going to be generational. It's going to have impacts for a very long time. And so because we understand that, the end game has to be either you kill this legislation or you take the risk of destroying Texas's economy. There are so many businesses out there that are standing with us. There are so many people out there that are standing with us, that are willing to make those types of sacrifices, to say, we won't relocate our business to that type of state. We don't want our children in those types of schools. We don't want our business in those type of environments. That is detrimental to our economy. And Republicans need to start understanding that. And when we start using not only our ability and the tools in our toolbox to walk away, but we also have the financial penalties that can be levied. Is that, me, cutting my nose off to spite my face? No, it's not what it is. What it is that I understand the sacrifice that needs to be made to better this state. And so this is one of those. It's going to hurt you more than it hurts me. So we want to make sure that we continue to fight. We continue to stop this type of legislation, and the Republicans need to understand it. But we can't do it alone, and that's why, me personally, and as a member of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus and a member of the House Democratic Caucus, those are the calls that we're making, that we're talking to businesses about. And then we do need the time to talk with a Senator Manchin. We do need the time to talk with a Senator Sinema, so that we can appeal to their conscience, to say that here is where it really stands. And I think that comes with it comes at different layers. It comes in waves. And so, and I believe the conversation that was had today with Senator Manchin, I truly believe that it moved the needle. But it's a wait and see. But we're going to wait it all the way out. But at the end of the day, simply because they threatened Harriet Tubman, and she said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go sit down since y'all threatened me." I thank God that she had the fortitude. The fact that they jailed Martin Luther King, the fact that they bombed Malcolm X's house, the fact that John Lewis was busted his head open on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I thank God that they never quit, because me as a Black man in Texas would not have the ability and the opportunity to serve as a state legislator. So one time that they stand in our way, the fact that the governor thinks that he's going to veto Article 10 to punish us, that's his fault. That's not ours. And we're willing to wait this thing out. We're willing to fight it all the way through. So this is going to be a fight to the bitter end. But hopefully that, we're going to stay above board. We're going to stay conscious, and we're going to stay professional. And we hope that we can make some change.
Rep. Johnson, what did Senator Manchin say to make you think that the needle was moved a bit?
I think how he reacted. I don't think, obviously, our two senators from Texas is not talking to Manchin and giving Manchin the flip side. Sure. I think, and when you look at someone like Manchin, who comes from a state that overwhelmingly voted for Trump, but yet as a Democrat, he's still able to hang in there. Kudos to him. But at the end of the day, I think it's his reaction more than anything else, and being able to tell us, I did not know that. I did not realize that. No one ever said that. We oftentimes think that we're very well-read people because we're legislators, but there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of bills that come across our table. And certainly if it ain't in my state, I'm definitely not looking at it. But I think it moves the needle when you have someone like a Sophronia Thompson, who is the dean of the Texas House Democratic, as a Democrat. She's been in office since 1971, strong mind, strong will, strong spirit. I think her being able to tell her story of what she had to go through as a young lady trying to vote, and then tell the story about her mother and her father, and how they had to use a whole week's worth of pay, which was $1, to pay a poll tax. Those types of stories resonate. And so when we look at kind of where we are today, that for me, it was more of his reaction of not knowing and not really understanding that we already had some of the most restrictive laws. And the simple question of, so why do we need it? What is the real point? Manchin always continues to say he wants bipartisan bills. Well, we're more than happy and willing to be bipartisan. You have to look at the other side. And if the other side is not willing to be bipartisan, then you can't fault us. You have to then look at what the Republicans are trying to do. And I think that those are the conversations and the points that we were making to Manchin, and I could see it in his body language more than the words. So at the end of the day, I'm certainly looking forward to hearing a response from him, and then certainly seeing the actual vote that he can make to either end the filibuster and certainly to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Before you go, for my audience out there listening, what can they do? What can my audience do if they're outraged by what they're hearing, what they're seeing? What can they do?
Number one, and let me just tell you this, and thank you for saying that. They can support financially. This has obviously become very expensive to us. The governor is simply using every tool that he has to try to stop the our pay. And while we only are paid $600 a month, let's be real, that's not, so him trying to stop our money, but he trying to penalize us and trying to make it very difficult. We do need the support so that we can hang in there. It becomes very expensive to live outside your own home in another state. So we're always going to need that type of support. But I encourage your listeners not to simply continue to call us, but call your friends in those rural communities. If there are people from Texas that are listening, call your friends. We all got friends in rural areas. We all got cousins in these type of communities and those type of communities. We need to get those people to start calling those state reps and those state senators and saying, I'm your constituent and I want you to vote this way. If you don't, there is a consequence that you will have to pay. I hope that we can get a groundswell. I've been truly encouraged because there's been a large number of Republicans, even from my district. While I'm a representative for District 139, I represent Republicans and Democrats. I don't turn my back on Republicans. I go to their meetings. I sit and listen and talk with them to make sure, because I'm the representative for all of 139, all 189,000 citizens. But at the end of the day, there have been many Republicans that have called my office and said, thank you. Thank you for what you do, because we do understand it. Of course, I got those Republicans that have called and cursed my office out and cursed my staff out and, and called me a fugitive and a bunch of other choice names. But I'm encouraged to know that there are those Republicans that are saying they understand and they agree. And I think it's those moderate Republicans that can give courage to a lot of others, because oftentimes all they need is just a little push and a little encouragement. I think we can get more people. It can be a groundswell, and we can get more people, because I truly believe that these bills are being put forth simply to appease to a loud minority of the Republican Party that they're trying to appease. So we need all the support that we can get. You can go to tobc.org website and donate to the Texas Legislative Black Caucus. You can go to HDC, the House Democratic Caucus for Texas, and certainly can donate to help us in these endeavors, because I think it's important that we keep the message going. We got to keep this energy. We got to keep the information out there, and we can't allow Republicans to continue to lie, and lie. Just like the governor himself is saying that the Democrats fled on a taxpayer funded junket. That's just not true. That's an outright lie. That no taxpayers are paying. And when you say taxpayers, we're talking about government money. And I think that's certainly, he's trying to use these words. And you know how Republicans do. They use a word salad to confuse their base. And then their base just takes and runs with it. So, but I think it's important that we stay on message, because next week it's going to be on to the next. It's going to be on to the next for many citizens in this country. And so I think we have to keep it out there, and not to pivot or nothing, but because of the pandemic, I think we were able to see justice served even with George Floyd, because everybody was glued to that. It was the story. Nobody could go anywhere, and they stayed stuck on that story for a very long time, because we all know this ain't the first time we heard "I can't breathe." Eric Garner said that in 2013, but we didn't get those type of results. So I hope that we can stay on point and don't lose the momentum of what we're trying to do here in Texas.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Rep. Jarvis Johnson, part of the Texas House of Reps, representing District 139.